Hey everybody, welcome to She's in Business Live. Today I'm bringing in the most awesome guest expert that I'm really excited to talk about because with COVID, the speaking industry kind of imploded on itself. We had a ton of clients who were speakers who really felt the pain if they weren't ready to kind of adapt to all the changes that were happening in the world. But what's great is that with COVID, hopefully chilling out a little bit more. People are traveling more, but people are still paying attention to what's happening online, still paying attention to virtual summits, still paying attention to speakers and thought leaders in general. There is so much that can be done to explode your business through the power of speaking. And Bri today is going to be joining me and talking to us all about how to get to your first 10K month and beyond, and consistent 10K months, all through the power of speaking. But real quick, let's roll that intro. Again, welcome to She's in Business Live. Hey, welcome, Bri.
Hey, she's in business. Hey, Kate.
Yay, I'm so excited to have you. Welcome to She's in Business Live. And let me hear everything about you and how this strategy about public speaking has evolved. Tell me your story.
So I think you set it up perfectly in saying that COVID really changed how things were operating. And the good news for anybody who has a coaching, a consulting business, nonfiction authors, folks that have a method, have expertise, have a business already, they have now pretty much a limitless environment when it comes to getting in on speaking activities to build your business, whether that's to gain more clients, make more sales, get more bookings, whatever it is. We have now this opportunity, which really has like almost zero cost involved to you, to get in and start speaking. So back a couple of years ago, if you were starting out as a speaker, you might be negotiating contracts and travel and hotels, and maybe even, do I pay to play? All of these questions that were actually really complicated and could be quite costly for folks that were just starting out. And the reality is now that you can find yourself booked really quickly and really easily if you can get a few things together, in terms of your pitch and what you want to put forward, and normally directly from your signature program or the service that you offer. So you already have what you need to get started as a speaker, which is amazing to me.
That I remember, really, before COVID, you couldn't. There were certainly virtual summits, but like everybody was spending so much time to build their speaking one sheet and to do all of these like credibility shots and to like slowly like, okay, you're going to do small audiences and then medium audiences. And there were all of these things that were so involved just to speak. And it really held a lot of people back from getting their message out there because they thought they had to be like the big keynote speakers who are, the road warriors and, spending, tens of thousands of dollars a month just to go to these speaking engagements. And it seemed so like speaking seemed like a pipe dream for a lot of people, even though they knew they were good at speaking or if they had something transformative to say. It was a huge block. It really, if you didn't have the resources, you were pretty much out of luck.
Yeah, and I think the opportunity here is that when we look at speaking as an industry, it can feel really intimidating. People in their power suits and up on the stage and striding around. But what I think we've seen during COVID times is that folks that maybe don't identify as super extroverted, kind of road warriors, as you say, the big extroverts, folks that have a message to share, have real expertise, have found a way to communicate in a way that feels really comfortable to them. And virtual speaking is just like an introvert stream. So if we have any introverts in the audience, you have this opportunity to share without, a lot of the big networking side of things and the physical presence of being in a room. Now, in saying that, I mean, I do miss in-person events, and I'm glad that they're coming back, because that gives us choices and a lot more opportunities. And, whereas we were just looking at virtual events before, now we have virtual, we have hybrid, and we have in person. So, realistically, if people are looking to get into speaking, they need to get specific about the type of speaking that they're interested in, because this very big non-specific dream of I want to be a speaker doesn't get you closer to being on your dream stage, which can look very different today. And that's one area that I think a lot of people stop themselves from moving forward, in that they think, well, I have to be at this stage in my career or in my business, or I have to have X number of years experience doing this and that. The reality is you can get started in speaking tomorrow if you like. You can book podcasts, you can get on summits. If you find a way to succinctly and clearly say how you help people and who you can specifically help the most, you can find a speaking gig.
So I love that, because I also feel like once people start speaking, even if it's just a little podcast or like you're showing up in a group and doing a live stream, that it creates this, every single one you do, it creates this confidence. And even if you're an introvert, and even if you're not like this, big personality, you start to realize that there's a whole audience out there just for you, with your quirks and your whatever it is that you are kind of worried about getting on stage and like showing to the world, that like you start to realize the more that you do them, like, hey, like I can actually do this thing. So where should somebody, maybe they're an introvert, maybe they've never really done any speaking, but they have that message to share, they want to grow their business, where should the newbie start if they're starting from scratch?
Okay, so the first thing I want to say is, if you have an existing business and you're making $0 in your business right now, the strategy that I'm talking about is really for folks who are a little bit further along. So that's the first thing. If you want to get involved in speaking, you need to understand that it's about consistency, having strategy, and like really following through. It's not like a get rich quick scheme. There's no magic formula. It really is about putting together a simple, specific, measurable plan and then executing against it for months at a time, and then measuring how that went. So that's the first thing that I want to say. Like, I know that's not sexy and not like super enticing to folks, but that is the reality of speaking. And especially if you're going the route of podcasts and summits and things, they are a slower burn activity, evergreen, helping to build awareness around your business overall. If you want to get into paid speaking, you need to have a around stepping yourself up. So even, it doesn't mean doing free gigs forever, but it does mean getting out there and speaking in person if you can, getting in front of your ideal audience as often as possible, and then starting to put pricing around that. But it's a different approach. So when I say specific and simple, I mean, do you want to get on 20 podcasts in the next year, or do you want to land your first paid speaking gig, even if that's $100 or $500? Getting really specific is the first thing. Like, what are you trying to do with speaking? Is it more of a PR opportunity for you, or are you looking to include it as an income stream in your business? That would be the absolute first step, is getting really specific on what your goals are.
And so somebody shows up, they've got a business, they've got some like infrastructure around their business, they've got some revenue coming in. How do they use speaking to really be more consistent, or show up more consistently, or grow their business more consistently? Because this is long game strategy, right? Like, so what are they doing every week? What are they doing every month? Like, what does that look like in terms of the implementation that they need to do to be that consistent speaker and to use it to help grow their business?
So once you have those goals in place, you really want to look at what that breaks down to in terms of your weekly activity. And typically we're doing research on opportunities, and then we're doing outreach, and then we're doing follow-up. So research, if you are searching on hashtags like call for speakers on social media, or also on Google, and including niche or industry specific keywords, so thinking about what would someone looking to organize an event be searching for. It's rarely the word speaker. It's more like digital marketing expert or TikTok expert or health and wellness. It's more about the keywords rather than using putting speaker in your bio somewhere. So thinking about how to get specific events and opportunities that match your expertise. And also then I would look in your network. I know that within anyone's network who is listening in right now, there are podcast hosts, there are people organizing events, people who have Facebook groups. And don't forget your local network as well, like local businesses, different opportunities, whether it be virtual or in-person networking. There are opportunities absolutely everywhere. And if you don't see them like popping up on your Facebook feed or wherever you like to spend your time, then you need to start connecting, and always be connecting really with hosts, people that do organize events, people that have different opportunities for you to speak to their membership, or if they have a new program and they need to plug in some guest experts to speak within their program. There are always opportunities to speak, and many of them can be monetized.
And so, okay, like this is a question I get a lot. Like, who should people be approaching? Like, if they don't have a huge audience, because like a lot of our clients at She's in Business, a lot of our customers, they're one-on-one service providers online. They're coaches. They have some high ticket programs, so they haven't been going yet for like mass followership. They're still in that phase of like they have something great to share, something really wonderful that they provide, typically a little bit more high ticket, and they are looking to scale more, but they don't have that big following. Like, who should they approach if they don't have that following yet? And can they approach the big guys? Can they approach the big shows? Like, who should they be looking for?
I mean, honestly, I would look at businesses that are complementary to yours, that are a similar size to yours, and get your confidence up in an area before you decide to go big. And again, that might not be the sexy answer that everyone's looking for, how to pitch big names. But the reality is, if you don't yet have a level of confidence and competence in speaking to groups around your new talk or interviewing skills, you might want to build up in that area in low or no risk situations before you start to scale that. Now, in saying that, if you don't yet feel comfortable pitching, reaching out to hosts, doing that kind of networking and marketing yourself as a speaker, go ahead and organize your own events. Set up a workshop, make it a Facebook event, charge people $40 or whatever it is to come on in, and then pitch your high ticket offer at the end of that. I mean, you will find an area that you're comfortable with, and you should honor where you're starting from. And there's no one solution. In fact, the first thing I would do if I'm talking to a new client is just ask them what they've already done before and what they are comfortable with. Probably push them a little bit further than what they're deeply comfortable with, but looking for like the easier options that will help you build confidence, and also trying to focus on one area in particular. So if you want to run a paid masterclass, do it 3 months in a row and get really good at the before, the middle, and the after, what that looks like in terms of building a funnel around that. If you are really interested in podcasts, go ahead and set yourself a number, a target that you want to book, and get really good at researching podcasts and reaching out to podcast hosts and getting yourself booked and getting those interviews down. Like, try to focus on one area and get really good in that. And what I often see is kind of like the spaghetti mind, where people are like, well, I'm in the middle of, fleshing out a book outline. I thought I'd run a challenge, and in the meantime, I'm applying for this and that. And it's hard because you're also running your business, and it's hard to make momentum feel easy for you if you are spreading yourself really thin. Focus on one thing, make it work, and then go on from there would be my advice.
And so when people are pitching, and like especially when they're just starting speaking, and they're Like I always feel like you're probably this way too because I've just been throwing questions at you. I can go pretty much on anything and talk about whatever it is just because I'm just used to it. It's not perfect. I'm a very flawed actually like speaker on a but it doesn't matter for me. That's I can just go in and talk to people, right? But people who are new and they've got all this maybe some anxiety around cameras and they've got the tech piece of the live streaming, like trying to figure that out. It can be a little bit stressful. So, should they have something prepared? Like, what's the best way to go in when you're pitching something like, hey, I'm going to come in and I'm going to speak on these 3 points? How do you recommend for people who are new and aren't really sure how it's going to go, but want to jump in with both feet?
So I would suggest that you come up with a topic that aligns directly to the thing, whether it be the program or the service or the product that you're really excited to promote over the next 3 to 6 months, and find a topic that ties directly to that product or service. And so you're going within, you're looking at your expertise and you're thinking, I know what people need, but what do they want? What do they want to hear about? And what are they asking questions about? So market research is a big, important part of that. But in terms of relating that back to pitching, you don't need to have written a signature talk in order to go out there and get yourself a talk. You can pitch. And once you pitch and you get something booked, I can guarantee you're going to get that written in time. But what you do need is an enticing title and an overview that serves the needs of both the host and the audience. So remembering that your host is going to use whatever words that you put in front of them to promote you to their audience. So thinking again about keywords, about solving problems, and also that people are just so fed up to the back teeth with fluffy general conversation. They actually want real tactics, things that are practical and actionable. And if you provide that through your description, something that feels much more tangible in terms of what you will deliver, then you are going to, when you get booked, once you deliver on that, you build trust so much more quickly with that audience because you're actually delivering against what you've said you're going to, as opposed to creating really big, dreamy, inspirational pieces. I think people, especially in this space, are looking for the solutions to problems, and not all of them all at once, but if you can help them solve one specific problem, just one, when you speak to them, then that's going to go a lot further than someone who's painting a really what's the word, braggalicious kind of dreamy marketing spiel, getting you excited but not actually giving you much to go off.
I love that because it really has, and I think COVID actually affected this a lot. You can't really get away with the fluff that you used to be able to. Like you got to come in swinging whether you're speaking, whether you're talking about a sales page, whatever it is. Like you've got a few seconds to keep people's attention. Same thing with speaking because they're going to go somewhere else. So you better come out, totally ready to provide that kind of value. And so I'm curious because I know people start speaking, and this has happened. This happened to me early on in a prior business. I would go speak, and I wouldn't see any sort of like uptick in sales or business or leads or followers or whatever it was that I was focusing on at that time. How can people use that appearance or that feature or that interview to get more of whatever it is that they're trying to build or grow? Like what do they need to have in place and actually execute on?
So there are two really easy avenues to pursue once you've had a speaking opportunity. And the first one is content. So go ahead and transcribe everything that was said in that speaking appearance and use that. Go ahead and pick out some of your quotes, some of your pieces of content that you can repurpose into social posts and emails, so that you are continuing to build on that thought leadership and sharing that, but also you've got something for your content calendar. And be generous to your host. Go ahead and keep on promoting the platform that you've used even after you've finished speaking on it, because a huge part of speaking is generosity, relationships, referrals. It's very much about people working with people that they like, who they know will deliver, who they can trust, and they feel as though are going to actually deliver real value. So that would be the first thing in terms of thinking about how to keep that talk alive through different formats in terms of content. That might inspire you to write a blog post. It might inspire a bunch of reels. Like, you can break that content up in loads of different ways. The second thing that I would do is to have a referral and repeat business system in place so that you are asking your hosts if there are any other opportunities that they're aware of. Just get really good at asking the question, do you know anyone who's looking for speakers right now? Anyone that I could go and connect with? Because if you don't ask, you don't get. But secondly, if you have had a good fit with that host, if there has been a good conversation, it's highly likely that that host is going to be connected to someone else who is looking for a guest. Remember, hosts have a problem in a way, and in that they want to make sure that they are continually bringing in great guests and producing great content. If you can help them solve that problem, you're not pitching, in the traditional sense of the word. You're actually filling a gap that they would like to be filled. So I think just changing the way that you think about pitching, and the fact that you can be a solution to a problem as well for hosts.
I love that, because it speaks so much to kind of building the consistency. So building that infrastructure, building that, hey, you do these things every day. You reach out to a new host, you follow up with that host, you ask them if there's other opportunities. After a while, it just becomes the system that you're used to, and then you get more consistent. And that it's the same thing with business, of course. Like, then you grow. But you have to, you can't just throw out one pitch and then be, I didn't get it. I'm done. I'm not meant to be a speaker, or I'm not meant to use speaking. It's like anything in business. It's something that you have to show up and do consistently, and have a strategy, some sort of strategy around. So what do you actually do in helping people do that strategic piece and the consistency piece? Help people kind of really start to grow their business through speaking. How can you help them? Because I know that you have helped so many people get to that next level through speaking.
The strategy is where we start. It's a 90-day process where we first focus on setting the stage. So it's very much about what's your big vision for this? Why do you want to speak in the first place? Some people really want to see their name up in lights. Other people just have a completely different approach in terms of, I just want this to build brand awareness. I really like the speaking side of things. I like the relationships that it creates. And so everyone has a different version of that. So we start with your vision, and then we drill down to what does the next 90 days have to include to get you to where you want to be to launch your speaking business in that time. So strategy first, and getting yourself to a point where you can hone in on who you can help the most, the product or the service that you are going to focus on initially to tie your talk back to, and then looking at what your dream stage is. So a dream stage can be small. It could be 20 people. It doesn't have to be 500. It doesn't have to be a TED talk. It can simply be consistently finding stages that allow you to speak to a very high percentage of your ideal audience. So we're trying to get as close to the center of the bullseye as possible. Then once you've set the stage, you've got that kind of structure in place in terms of the strategy, then we look at creating a world-class message. So not just the kind of brilliant basics, not just good ideas that are executed well, but we want to be able to stand out in a way that highlights your experience, what you can bring to the table. So it's your positioning, your unique way of doing what you do, and who you can help the most based on that. So that's some of the essential pieces around the messaging so that we can create a signature talk. That signature talk, we get the title down, we get the description down. And also, if you're looking for more interview style talks, we create some stories and some great questions that you would love to answer, which can incidentally go into your podcast one sheet, so that you have that message piece and you get to experience that in front of a live audience with no risk, so other aspiring speakers. Once you've got that piece in place, then we look at your speaking business. So the marketing, the sales, and the operations that are behind the scenes of a speaking business. Now, if you want to create income from a speaking business, you need to have systems in place. It's the cumulative effect of all of those things and following through. And most people don't necessarily start out knowing how to market themselves as a speaker. So we look at the marketing assets that you need, whether that be on your website, your digital presence, looking at your headshots, your bio, all of those kind of fun things, and your speaker one sheet, because of course that's always great to have when you are applying and pitching. And then we look at how to go ahead and get those bookings. So getting that outreach process in place. And then once you are indeed getting yourself booked, looking at how to make the most of each and every one of those bookings. So looking for the opportunities for income in your business. And we've got a funnel set up then around that. So you can consistently be working through and feeding that funnel, if you like, but also not keeping the focus solely on speaker fees. Because if you have an existing business, you already have hopefully a funnel in place. So we look at easy opportunities to add a talk to the top of your existing funnels, and then perhaps setting up something separate depending on if you're going for speaker fee type speaking as well, paid speaking.
I love that because there's so many different ways that you can take it, and there's so many different ways that you can use speaking to grow. But in the end, it all comes down to systems and strategy, and not, and people forget that. They think that they're just going to go, speak and it's all just going to, it's going to rain money. And like, no, it's just like how you grew your business. It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Yeah. So how can people find out more about you, get into your world, and especially if they want to really get started, they're really serious about speaking's my next thing. How do they get in touch with you and get into your world?
So for anyone that wants to find out more about speaking, they're just curious, or they have questions and they're just not really sure either way, or they're looking for some free resources, there's the Pro Speaking for Entrepreneurs Facebook group. That's a free community. Anyone can come in and join and just go ahead and dive in and find all the goodness in there. And if you are at the stage where you are really thinking about mapping out your speaking business, I offer a 45-minute strategy session where we sit down and have a look at where the opportunities are within your business to get yourself on a stage as soon as possible. And then you can go ahead and figure out if you want some help implementing that or not. It's as simple as that. So those two options, if you're really, really ready and you feel like you just want to help map out what your next steps would be, you can go ahead. I'll make sure I can give you that link. But Pro Speaking for Entrepreneurs is the place to come in and kind of test the waters.
That's actually where I found Bri. So pretty much everything that she's talked about, that's what we've been doing on the back end with, She's in Business is a new startup. And we've kind of had to start from scratch on a lot of our strategies because I didn't have this network in place and the big followership that I did. And so I went and looked for people just like Bri who they had something to share with my audience. I could hopefully provide her some value, and we'll keep this relationship and hopefully, hook each other up with other opportunities as things come up. But highly recommend going to check out Bri's group because it's really great, and it really focuses on the speaking aspect specifically for entrepreneurs, which, even if that doesn't mean you need to be a keynote speaker, that you want to make all this money from speaking, but you want to use speaking to leverage more followership and more revenue and more income. So go check her out. I will have it. We'll put update in the description and in the show notes for the podcast. Everything that we've talked about here. Also, all of the links to go connect with Bri. And I highly recommend working with her, checking out what she has to offer, because really speaking, this is the best time to get into speaking. I cannot tell you how much the industry has changed in the last couple of years, and it's a prime opportunity for you, no matter what your message is, no matter what your business is. So Bri, thank you for joining us today. Before we go though, I always ask everybody this, this question is, if somebody could just do one thing, take one actionable piece away today that they could go do right now, do easily, that would get them started, that would get that momentum going, and that would be the biggest impact, something they could do today to start speaking, to start moving towards being a speaker or using it to build their business, what would you tell them to do?
I'd want to show them what the possibilities are. So hashtag call for speakers. Go to LinkedIn, go to Facebook, go to Google, and just create yourself a list of the opportunities that are there. They exist. They're sitting there ready and waiting for you to go and find them. Create that list and then set aside 1 to 2 hours to go ahead and apply to something this week. Just go do it. It'll happen.
Well, you heard it there, guys. Hashtag call for speakers, and go to see what's available. Go see what's out there. And I can't wait to just hear how people use this in an actionable way. And I would highly recommend go to join Bri's group and show her in the group, hey, I did it. Hashtag call for speakers, and look what I found. I found all of these opportunities. So Bri, thank you for bringing this value, and thank you for schooling us on what we need to do to use speaking to get to 10K plus months. I hope you'll join us on the next one or another time.
My honor to be here. Thank you.
Okay. All right, everybody. Thanks for joining us, and we'll see you next time.